impossible to get in the mind of Vladimir Putin because it's sick and twisted and probably not logical. But, I'm guessing that he doesn't want to take on the most powerful military in the world, which is the United States of America.
He said very clearly is that it is not acceptable for India to continue financing this war by purchasing the oil from Russia. People will be shocked to learn that India is basically tied with China in purchasing Russian oil. That's an astonishing fact. India portrays itself as being one of our closest friends in the world, but they don't accept our products. They impose massive tariffs on us. We also know they engage in a lot of cheating on immigration policies that is very harmful to American workers. And of course, we see again the purchasing of oil. So President Trump, look, he wants a tremendous relationship and has had always a tremendous relationship with India and the Prime Minister. But we need to get real about dealing with the financing of this war. So President Trump, all options are on the table.
This is my video update on this Monday midday, August the 4th, coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And we have a change of plans concerning Steve Witkoff's trip to Russia. It now looks like Witkoff will most likely be in Moscow on Wednesday or Thursday. He was supposed to go to Moscow yesterday, but something happened. Something happened, and Trump was speaking to reporters, and he said that Witkoff will most likely go to Russia on Wednesday or Thursday, right before. Am I recording? Yeah, I'm recording. Right before the tariff Armageddon deadline of August the 8th. Tariff Armageddon this Friday. Get your tickets now to the tariff Armageddon. Oh man, so what happened? What happened? Why did Witkoff not travel to Russia? Why do we not have a firm date yet as to his travel plans? Trump said Wednesday or Thursday. I don't think we have any statement from the Kremlin on this matter. My guess is that Russia, hearing all of this talk about Witkoff traveling in order to push the Kellogg ceasefire plan, to give it one more try, they probably told Witkoff and Trump, look, if you're coming here to push the ceasefire, don't bother. They probably said, look, if Steve wants to come to Moscow to visit the city, to hang out, maybe go to some nice restaurants or something, yeah, he's welcome to come and visit. But if he's coming to talk about Kellogg's ceasefire plans, then forget about it. I'm sure that's what happened. That would be my guess, but I think that's what went down. Even though Trump, Victor Bonato, Frozen Wave, Third Sculpture Symposium, Municipality of Limassol, 2001. And so some idiots decided to put graffiti, to paint graffiti on this sculpture. Also needs to be cleaned. Anyway, it's a cool sculpture. I love this sculpture. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. Witkoff was going to travel to Russia so he could talk about about convincing Russia to agree to a ceasefire. So get this, Trump, as he was speaking to reporters, he said that that Witkoff is going to Russia one more time before the sanction, the tariff, secondary sanction, whatever you want to call it, deadline on August 8th, because Trump claims that he wants the killing to stop. That's what he told reporters. He also said that Russia's losing a lot of soldiers, more than Ukraine. He said that again. He said Ukraine is losing soldiers, but Russia's losing a lot more. Anyway, he threw that out as well. And then Trump said that he's going to place sanctions if no agreement is made on Wednesday or Thursday. Then he's going to put his 100% tariff sanctions, secondary tariff sanctions on Russia and all the countries trading with Russia on Friday, even though he told reporters that Russia will most likely be able to deal with it, because he said that the Russians are wily. They're wily characters, wily people. So Trump knows that the secondary tariff sanctions, he knows they're not going to work, but he's going to do it anyway. And the Russians will be able to deal with it because they're wily, wily coyote. Trump has become the coyote, and Russia is the roadrunner. Beep, beep. Yeah, Trump is the coyote with the Acme bombs and rocks that try to drop on the roadrunner, and the roadrunner always freaking gets away. Always gets away. Never once has the coyote captured the roadrunner. Actually, once. One time, the coyote captured the roadrunner, but the roadrunner, in the episode where the coyote actually captured the roadrunner, something happened and the roadrunner turned into this gigantic roadrunner, and the coyote shrunk down, and the coyote grabbed onto little coyote grabbed onto the roadrunner's leg, and that was the one time that the coyote captured the roadrunner. Why am I talking about this anyway? Trump said that the Russians are wily.
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens. But Steve is focused right now on the border in terms of, we're talking about with Gaza, getting people fed. And he may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
Let's see. Trump announced his new date of Witkoff's visit to Moscow. The special envoy will travel to Russia to discuss Ukraine just ahead of the U.S. president's self-imposed sanctions deadline. Yeah, get a deal where people stop getting killed, Trump said when asked what message Witkoff would deliver to Russian officials and whether Moscow could do anything at this point to avoid new sanctions. Well, there will be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they are wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. He added, the U.S. president claimed that Moscow asked for Witkoff's visit, but the Kremlin has yet to comment on the reports. Yeah, Trump is saying that Moscow is asking for Witkoff to visit. Yeah, I believe that. Please, Witkoff, please visit Moscow. Please, you have to visit Moscow. We need you to come visit Moscow before Tariff Armageddon on Friday. Please come and visit. Please, give us one more chance to accept the ceasefire deadline. We will not be able to handle Tariff Armageddon. Nonsense, man. Nonsense. That's how you know that the Kremlin, that statement from Trump gives it all away. The fact that Trump told reporters that Moscow is asking for Witkoff to travel to Russia, that the Kremlin is asking for Witkoff to travel to Russia is the giveaway that the Kremlin actually told Witkoff, don't bother coming to Moscow yesterday. Don't bother coming to Moscow if you're going to talk about a ceasefire. Don't waste our time. Trump gave it all away with that statement. Anyway, on a side note, I mentioned yesterday about the rumor, and it is a rumor, that Russian special forces captured UK, NATO, special forces or commanders, and they captured them. And this is just a rumor, but a lot of people are talking about this. In the comments section from my video update yesterday, some people made the very good statement, analysis, comment that perhaps Witkoff was actually going to Moscow in order to negotiate, if this story is true, and I say if, that Witkoff was going to Moscow in order to try and negotiate the release of these officials, these UK NATO military officials who have been captured. Once again, I want to make sure I stress the point that this story is a rumor. It is just a rumor. But if it does prove to be true, we probably will never really find out. But if it were true, or if it is true, then maybe that is what Witkoff is running to Moscow in order to do, in order to try and get the release of these military officials. There are rumors which claim that the UK told Russia, after these people were captured, that they were war tourists. They weren't involved in any of the fighting or anything like that, but they were just simply war tourists. Once again, this is all rumors. All of this is rumors as far as the capture of these officials and the UK talking about war tourism. I just want to make sure I am clear on that point, because I don't want to make it seem as if I am putting out misinformation. So Miller, he's the deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller. He was speaking to Maria Bartiromo and Fox News, and Miller lashed out at India. Man, did he lash out at India. He's very upset that India is funding Putin's war machine, funding the conflict in Ukraine by purchasing Russian oil, according to Miller. This is unacceptable, said Miller. How could India dare fund Russia in this conflict, as the United States has been funding Project Ukraine for the last 15 to 20 years, pouring hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in money and weapons, maybe even $1 trillion when you add it all up over the past, let's say, 20 years. I bet you the United States is in for Project Ukraine to the tune of $1 trillion. That would just be my guess. But how dare India purchase Russian oil? How dare they take advantage of favorable prices because of the bonehead EU sanctions on Russian oil? And how dare they take advantage of this? They get favorable prices from Russia to purchase the oil, they refine the oil, and then they sell it back to Europe at 10 times the price. How dare you, India? How dare you, according to Miller. And then Miller told Maria Bartiromo. Maria Bartiromo was agreeing with Miller. She seemed to be very shocked, but also in agreement with Miller. How dare India do this? And then Miller said that India also cheats on immigration and migration and stuff like that. So not only is India purchasing Russian oil against the United States' wishes and funding the conflict in Ukraine, which is a big no-no. Only the United States can fund and fuel and provoke the conflict in Ukraine. But India is also a cheater when it comes to immigration and migration, according to Miller. And India was not going to have any of this nonsense. They're not going to take this crap. and India, one second. Miller said what Trump said very clearly is that is not acceptable for India to continue financing this war by purchasing the oil from Russia. That's what Miller said. And the Indian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said, our relationship with Russia is a steady and time-tested partnership. As far as sourcing India's energy requirements is concerned, We take discussions based on the price at which oil is available in the international market and depending on the global situation at that time. So our decision is guided by the availability in the market and the situation prevailing at that point. India does not recognize unilateral sanctions imposed by individual jurisdictions. We view this move as lacking legal basis under international law and deeply concerning from our energy security standpoint. In other words, India is rejecting Miller and Trump's ultimatums and threats and warnings, and they're saying that we are going to do whatever is in our national interests. How about that? A country that will do what is in its national interests. So different from the European collective West vassals that India. How dare they? Brazil is also rejecting Trump's 50% tariff. And Brazil is saying that Trump and the US, they were trying to, or they continue to try and stage a coup. This is according to Lula. Brazil won't forget the U.S. helped stage a coup. The country's president has accused Washington of economic blackmail and vowed to defend national sovereignty. So Brazil, one thing that they are going to be doing is they are going to be taking their very tasty, very delicious coffee, and they are going to be taking it to China. According to Reuters, China welcomes 183 Brazil coffee sellers in wake of U.S. tariffs. Trump is bringing Brazil and China even closer together. How about that, huh? Life in Limassol. All right, yeah, bringing Brazil closer to China, bringing Brazilian coffee to China. So Lula, he said that trying to use a political issue to economically sanction us is unacceptable, Lula said, referring to recent U.S. threats to impose a 50% tariff on Brazilian exports. I won't forget that they have already helped stage a coup here, Lula added. He did not clarify whether he was referring to the 1964 Operation Brother Sam, the 2016 impeachment of former President Rousseff, or the recent attempt by ex-President Bolsonaro to overturn the 2022 election results. So many coups, so little time. I don't know which coup we're talking about here. Was it the coup in 1964? Was it the coup in 2016? Was it the coup in 2022? Is it the current attempt to oust Lula? So many coups, but we're not going to take it, said Brazil. We are going to take our coffee and we are going to China. And China is also hitting back at the Trump White House. You see a pattern here? Do you guys see a pattern? It looks like the BRICS are uniting. The BRICS are uniting and they are hitting back at the Trump White House in a big way. The BRICS are not breaking. They are not cracking at all. They're firing back at the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal, China is choking supply of critical minerals to Western defense companies. China cuts off the West's mineral oxygen. Defense industry sounds the alarm. Beijing is restricting the exports of rare earth minerals essential for Western defense industries. According to the Wall Street Journal, this concerns 17 metals used in the production of everything from bullets to fighter jets, as well as in tens of thousands of components in U.S. weaponry. Prices for rare minerals have already increased fivefold, and American companies are urgently seeking alternatives, but quickly replacing such volume is impossible. Some factories have started delaying production, which impacts weapon delivery schedules. The publication specifies more than 80,000 parts in American military equipment contain elements of Chinese origin. The American automotive industry, heavily dependent on steady supplies from China, is especially vulnerable. You know what else I read? That the U.S. can replace some of these rare earth minerals by working with Brazil. No joke, man. Yeah, it's going to be hard to replace these rare earth critical minerals. It's not going to happen overnight. Maybe they can work with Brazil, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. China is putting the squeeze on the U.S. China, I don't like it. I don't like it. Those Russians, they're wily. They're wily characters. But I'll place sanctions on them anyway. Yeah. China putting the squeeze on the U.S. MIC. BRICS is fighting back. They are fighting back in a big way. So there was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. Anyway, maybe I'll remember it as the video goes along. So Switzerland is in a panic over the 39% tariffs. Switzerland lost its image of being neutral, its status as being a neutral country. They decided to destroy that policy, that image, when they decided to go all in on Project Ukraine and to go all in with the collective West on this Project Ukraine adventure, which has backfired on the collective West in a big way and has backfired on Switzerland in a big way. And now Switzerland is completely dependent on the United States, and they are in a panic over the 39% tariffs that the Trump White House put on Switzerland. And according to the Financial Times, the Swiss president is being blamed for, and I quote, a disastrous deal with Trump. Now, according to a phone call that the Financial Times is referencing in this article, Switzerland told Trump that they would go for 10% tariffs or 15% tariffs, and that's what they thought they had agreed on. And in return, Switzerland was going to give the Trump White House $150 billion in investment. $150 billion, according to the Financial Times report. But that wasn't enough for Trump. That was not enough for Trump. He said that Switzerland continued to take advantage of the United States. The call did not go well, in the sense that from the very first minute, Trump made it clear 10% was not enough, and all he could focus on was Switzerland stealing money from the U.S. There was nothing Keller Sutter could say, one source told the FT. Trump reportedly asked what more the very wealthy Alpine country could offer. And they described the call as a fiasco. As a fiasco. The biggest fiasco, actually, is how they described the call. So even $150 billion in tribute money to Emperor Trump was not enough to get Switzerland off the hook of 39% tariffs. Man, what a vassal Switzerland has become, man. Embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing for Switzerland. The Sunday Times is reporting that Ursula, she folded to Trump last week in the EU's tariff negotiations because the fear of the U.S. military pulling out of Europe. That was what did it for the EU. That's why the EU, according to many reports, Ursula did not even negotiate. She didn't even negotiate. She just accepted everything that Trump told her because she was afraid that the U.S. would stop pouring money into Europe and into NATO for military reasons. Military money into Europe and money into the military alliance that is known as NATO, and out of this fear that Trump would scale back troop presence in Europe, that the money for the military and for weapons into Europe would stop and money into NATO would stop from the United States, Ursula just folded. She folded. She said, okay, whatever. Whatever you tell me, Trump, I will accept it. $750 billion in LNG, $600 billion in investments, $600 billion, whatever. Just please, please, Trump, do not take away our military money from the United States. That's how important NATO and military money and U.S. military presence in the EU, in Europe, has become. Behind her reversal was the fear that Trump might use a dispute as a pretext to cut U.S. military support for Ukraine or otherwise damage European security, the Sunday Times wrote. Brussels was reportedly particularly concerned about the outcome of a pending American posture review that may result in the withdrawal of some of the roughly 80,000 U.S. troops stationed across Europe. Yeah, all Europe is going to be, going forward, is tourism and U.S. military spending and U.S. military presence. That's going to be the economy of the European Union going forward for the next 20 years. That's it. I can tell you that that is pretty much the economy of many EU countries in the South, in Southern Europe. Their economy relies heavily on the U.S. military presence, the existing bases, the new bases that have been built, that and tourism. That's Europe going forward. Everything else is deindustrialized, man. It's all been deindustrialized, including Germany. Completely deindustrialized. And Germany now is going to be dependent on U.S. military spending, U.S. military investment, even though Merz was talking about building Germany's own military industries, as France is also talking about building their own homegrown military industry. Not going to happen. The U.S. will never let that happen. Europe is going to be dependent on U.S. military spending and investment, and that means bases and purchasing of weapons and all of that stuff. That's Europe going forward. That was Ursula's fear, everybody. That was her fear, that the U.S. would pull out. So Pokrovsk is, and her fear was Project Ukraine, that the U.S. would pull out of Project Ukraine because a lot of money and investments in Project Ukraine. So Pakarovsk, since we're talking about Project Ukraine, is falling very, very fast, a lot faster than anyone had anticipated. If you look at the map, Pakarovsk is almost surrounded. Almost surrounded when you look at the maps. Not looking good for Pakarovsk. We're getting reports that the Russian military is even now in the city of Pakarovsk, and they're facing very little resistance as they're moving around certain parts of the actual center of Pakarovsk. They're closing in on Mirnograd as well. If they capture Mirnograd, that would mean that they're very, very close to completely capturing Pakarovsk. And the situation is critical for the Ukraine military. That's why you have all the panic, man. That's why you see the panic in the collective West, the panic with Trump. And Trump is panicking. He is panicking big time. And that's probably one of the reasons why he put this deadline, why he pushed the deadline forward to the 8th. I wouldn't be surprised if his military advisors told him, man, we're going to suffer a big defeat in Pakarovsk. And that defeat's going to be blamed on you, President Trump. It's going to be your defeat at the hands of the Russian military in Pakarovsk. And so Trump is trying in a panic to do something to try and trick the Russians into accepting a ceasefire because they're wily characters. Yeah, Seversk. The Russians are moving in Seversk, advancing in Seversk as well. They're pretty much advancing everywhere, man. They're advancing everywhere, and they continue to smash the bridge in Kherson, and it looks like the Russian military is getting ready for something big to happen in the south, in Kherson and Kherson City. We're getting reports that Ukraine is actually starting to evacuate Kherson City in anticipation of some big Russian offensive. And we have a statement from a Ukrainian parliament member, Anna Skorohod, who is saying that nearly 400,000 desertions have occurred from the Ukraine military, attributing this mass exodus to brutal command, forced conscription, and inhumane treatment. Soldiers treated like animals. That's a direct quote from this Ukrainian parliament member. Yeah. And Trump continues to hold on to the fantasy and the fiction that Russia is suffering losses, 14 times greater losses, or 12 times greater losses than Ukraine, whatever the number is. Trump continues to hold on to this fantasy, and he continues to repeat this fantasy. And when Pokrovsk falls, and Mirnograd, and Seversk, and when Russia reaches the Dnieper, I wonder if someone in the collective West media is going to ask Trump the question, how did Russia do all of this while suffering 14 times more losses than Ukraine? Please explain, President Trump. I don't know. They're wily characters. I don't like it. So the Taiwan deputy foreign minister was speaking to Sky News, and he said that China is going to invade any day now. Any day now, China is going to invade. China is preparing to invade Taiwan. If that happens, the modern world, your world, will disappear. I don't think the world's going to disappear, to be quite honest. But Russia and China, I believe they are conducting military drills, or they will be conducting military drills in the region. And I guess this is freaking out Taiwan. But I also imagine that Taiwanese officials, they're probably saying, you know what, it's time to cash in and get a lot of the U.S. money, get some of that U.S. money. Like the Zelensky regime was getting all of that U.S. money. Maybe it's our turn to start cashing in on the hundreds of billions that the neocons and the Trump White House are so willingly dishing out. So anyway, that is what the Taiwan foreign minister, deputy foreign minister, said. And should we do a clown world? France's top general says Russia could attack in 5 years. Okay, France's top general, whatever you say, man. 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. From the Telegraph, Russia's advance in Ukraine accelerates for the 4th straight month. Vladimir Putin's invasion force captured 275 square miles of Ukrainian territory, compared to the 30 square miles reclaimed by Kiev's troops. How is Russia doing all of this while suffering such lopsided losses, according to U.S. President Trump? How are they doing this? Don't know. Anyway, let's, I think we could do a clown world and wrap this video up. Let's go down that way and cross over. So, a video came out from a football match between Veres Rivne Football Club, Ukrainian football match, Veres Rivne and Dynamo Kiev. I believe Dynamo Kiev won the match, 1-0 to null. And this was at the Veres Rivne pitch. So they were the home team, and there's a video that is all over social media of the Rivne Veres doing an NAZI salute as they're chanting for their football club. So yeah, that's one thing. But the clown world in all of this is that, as this video was circulating, someone asked Grok if this is real, if this is really what is being reported. Is this at a football match? Are these Ukrainian football fans? And Grok actually came back with an answer saying that this video was from a Croatian music festival or concert. And this is not from a football match. So then everyone started to say, wait a minute, this is fake news. This was not in Ukraine, this was in Croatia at a football match. Fake news, Russian disinformation, blah, blah, blah. And then someone asked Grok again, they asked Grok again, wait a minute, are you sure, Grok, that this was at some Croatian concert? And then Grok came back with an amended answer. Basically, Grok admitting, you know what? 1 second, in all our AI wisdom and intelligence, Grok made a mistake. Upon review of additional footage and reports from Strana.ua, Big News Network, and eyewitness accounts, the video is indeed from Veres Rivne versus Dynamo Kiev match on August 2nd, 2025 in Ukraine, showing ultras in matching attire performing NAZI salutes during the daytime. My prior identification as Croatia was mistaken. Apologies. Such extremism is condemnable wherever it occurs. So artificial intelligence sometimes is not so intelligent. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble and Odyssey and Telegram and X. And go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I am wearing in this video update. There is a link in the description box down below. Take care.